Thanks, everyone, and good afternoon. We appreciate you joining How to Do Business in Illinois, presented by the Illinois Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, at Bill Bronzeville. Let's talk about the who, what, where, and how. First, we are the Illinois, as I said, Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, at Bill Bronzeville. I'm Rebecca Chauncey, Interim Director for our center. We provide one-on-one advising for entrepreneurs as they plan, start, and grow their businesses. We also provide training and workshops and connections to small business resources. And we're located in the heart of Bronzeville at 5055 South Prairie. This session or training is brought to you at no cost because it's funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration, or the USSBA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Urban Juncture Foundation. Let's just a kind reminder that if you have questions today, type them in the Q&A section, which you'll see if you hover over the bottom of your screen, and I will address questions if relevant in the moment, as well as at the end when there will be the Q&A section. What we will and won't cover. So we're going to talk about legal entity setup, registering your business, including home-based businesses, federal EIN number, registering for business taxes, opening a business bank account, business insurance, and business plan. We won't cover SBA or other loans, grants, government contracts, or MBE and WBE certification. So you have a great business idea. What's next? It's best to approach your business or developing the business in the order that we'll talk about today. First, work with the feasibility checklist. It gives you the space to have a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself about the business and what it will really take to see it through, to develop it, and ultimately to maintain it, right? You'll also want to work on your business pitch and plan. That the business plan is a living document and it'll take some time. It's requested by anyone taking your business seriously for lending, investment, some commercial landlords, and many support resources. It only requires you and research, whereas the business infrastructure requires other people and entities. So you can do that while you're working on your business plan. Let's talk more about the plan. So it's a living document, as I've noted. It's just as good for outlining what you know as it is in showing you what you don't know. This is a large part of what we do at the SBDC. We assist you in creating your business plan and guiding you through the process. So again, the plan is for lenders as well as if you want to get loans, but it serves as a great blueprint for you to think through your idea and strategies. All lenders and investors beyond friends and family will want to see it, but frankly, some of your friends and family may want to see it too. I know I would because it certainly shows you're serious about your business endeavor. And what happens when one reads a business plan, they're able to picture exactly what it is you plan to do with your company. The business plan should in, be based on your logic and thorough explanations and the research that you've done, right? The lenders and other reviewers of the plan know that you don't know exactly everything, but they want to see how well you thought through it. It also will feature a marketing and sales plan, right? And your competition. Remember, there's a saying that marketing to everyone is marketing to no one. So, in an example of one who has an e-commerce business, just because the business is online doesn't mean the market is to the world. And so, when you think about your marketing strategy, you have to consider who your target market is and how the promotions of your business will resonate with them. And then the sales plan, which is different from marketing because it shows how you'll convert interested parties into paid customers, is a part of the business plan. And certainly your financial forecast and strategy. Again, detail and logic in your assumptions trumps the numbers being accurate. And we suggest that clients start with a streamline or napkin business plan. It's short, it's like a page or two, and that's a wonderful place to start. And then you move into the business plan. And there's a great training that we did that you could check out called Pitch Perfect. And by the way, so that's a clickable link. There are other clickable links in this presentation, and so you'll be able to take a look at those. I will send a PDF of the slide deck with the follow-up email. So let's talk about our steps as you set up your business infrastructure. The first one is to get the legal entity. So each entity has its own benefits and drawbacks regarding costs, complexity, tax implications, and the ability to raise capital. It's suggested to consult an accountant or a lawyer with detailed questions. I am neither. But I can certainly share generally information about a few of the popular legal entities. So first we have the sole or general proprietor. You submit an application with the Cook County Clerk's Office. There's a one-time fee of $50. Completed completed the application with a completed application will provide a legal notice. Then you file that notice in the local newspaper for once a week for 3 consecutive weeks. You'll provide proof of notice to the clerk's office, and then the city will provide an assumed business name certificate. In the case of an LLC, in order to maintain your personal and business liability protection, you must maintain them as separate. You don't want to what's called pierce the corporate veil. In other words, mixing your business and personal finances, because that dissolves the protection of them being separate. So an LLC allows you to do that. As you can see, you would file with the Secretary of State's office for that for $150 initially, and then there's an annual renewal fee of $75. It provides the protection for personal assets. As I said, owners file profits and losses on their personal income taxes. And it's not an entity option, however, for banking and insurance businesses. And then you have the corporation. It's the most complex. You also file for this through the Secretary of State's office for $150 with that annual renewal fee of $75. You must have a board of directors. You can share sales, you can sell shares of stocks, and there's protection for personal assets. If you have a C Corp, just understand that you would be double taxed, and the shareholders, basically the way that works, shareholders have to report dividends, capital gains, profits paid to them on personal income tax, and the corporation must file its own taxes. In the case of an S corp, it's a tax status, so that's filed through the IRS. It's not a legal status. Ultimately, what happens with that, income passes through to owners, personal income taxes like an LLC. In the case also of, I will say about the S Corp, for those that have an LLC, sometimes entrepreneurs choose to get an S Corp status for their LLC. In that case, LLC members are paying self-employment tax for Social Security and Medicare. So by getting the S Corp status, it eliminates this tax because S corporation owners aren't considered to be self-employed. This business entity comparison table we thought was very helpful for you to get a quick glance at the different types of business entities and their benefits and You could, again, you'll be able to take a look at this when you receive the PDF of the slide deck. Also, well, want to note social enterprises. Some clients have considered this as a legal entity. It's a hybrid entity for profit and no profit. Legally, it's a for-profit business with legal social obligations. So sometimes you'll see it as an L3C or benefit corporation. The LLC is primarily the for-profit mission, and then again, the social obligation is secondary. This low profit limited liability corporation has a primary philanthropic mission, and you should again talk to an attorney for details and to establish it if it makes sense for your business. The second step, as we talk about setting up your business infrastructure, is establishing your business name. You have to legally establish the name. So there's let's say your legal company name is ABC Company LLC or ABC Company Corporation. You would file that, as we talked about, through the Secretary of State. But if you want an operational name that is different from the legal entity, then you would need to file for that through that DBA or assumed name through the Cook County Clerk's office if you have a sole proprietorship, or through the Secretary of State's office if you have the LLC. And then there's certainly, if you consider a trademark. Some clients like to trademark their business names. There's a trademark for the name itself as well as the logo, and then you could also trademark the name and the logo combined. And you would file that with the federal government, specifically the United States Patent and Trademark Office, that's USPTO. And it takes on average about a year to 6 months to a year to get through that process. Any questions? I don't see any questions now, so we'll just keep moving right along. Just a reminder, or just in case you joined us after we started, if you have questions today, please type them in the Q&A section, and I will address them if relevant in the moment, as well as at the end when we have Q&A. Let's talk a little bit more about the DBA. So who's required to file a DBA, right? Under state law, there are three classes of businesses that are required to register assumed names if needed. So you've got I mentioned the sole proprietor, but also general proprietor. And understand that sole proprietorships are businesses defined under state law as being owned by an individual or husband and wife. General partnerships are an association of two or more persons who carry on as co-owners of a for-profit business entity. And then when you think of professional service corporations, a business corporation formed by an individual or a group of individuals who are required by law to be licensed or obtain other legal authorization from the state to deliver services. Though examples of those include doctors, dentists, land surveyors, podiatrists, and some attorneys. So proof of filing with the Secretary of State's office is required for those. And when you have a sole proprietor or general proprietor, you would have to proprietorship, excuse me, you would submit your DBA application to the Cook County Clerk's office, and you pay the $50. Like we talked about how you establish those sole proprietorships a moment ago, but you would have to do a similar process when filing for that assumed business name or DBA. And ultimately, you are filing again for the DBA. If you plan to operate under any name, then you're a legal entity. And so For those of you that have an LLC, LLP, or corporation and you need the DBA, you will do that through the Illinois Secretary of State's office. The third step as you set up your business infrastructure is to register for an EIN. It's not required for sole proprietors unless you have employees, but it is certainly required for those of you who have LLCs or you want to choose the legal entity of an LLC or a corporation. You can essentially, the EIN is your business social security number, right? You can only have one attached to the same name, and it is required to open a business bank account. It protects your social security number, and it is free. If you see anything about us, if you see any marketing or someone tells you that you could pay them to get your EIN, no, that is a scam. It's free and you can get the number yourself through the IRS. Step four, as we talk about setting up your business infrastructure, is to get your business bank account. Common accounts include checking, savings, credit card, and merchant services. It's necessary to keep your personal and business finances 100% separate, as I mentioned earlier when we talked about the different legal entities. And your EIN or Social Security number are required to open that account. And so we suggest smaller local regional banks or credit unions versus big banks, just so you're able to, generally speaking, clients have found it easier to develop a relationship with their bankers at the smaller banks. Examples of these include Wintrust. There are multiple locations, like one in Hyde Park. Also, Self Help Credit Union. There's Providence in Bronzeville that we've had clients establish their business bank accounts there, and even CIBC. And then BMO is a good middle ground. Chase has great technology, and so does Bank of America and Citi, but they're not really geared towards micro businesses or really small businesses like many of you would most likely be establishing. So just something to consider. Step five, as you set up your business infrastructure, includes registering for your Illinois sales and business taxes. So you don't want to apply for this when you're in the planning and ideation stage because the clock immediately starts on needing to file or report these business taxes once you have set this up. So we pretty much recommend that clients do this like very closer to the time that you're actually going to open, not not like the first 6 months of you operating, preparing to operate. You should wait till you're pretty much about to open before establishing this account. I should note that the SBDC, excuse me, as I said before, is not an accounting or legal service. So we highly recommend that you meet with an accountant and an attorney to provide specific details and advice for your business. But this is general information, right, that you can consider. When you are setting up your Illinois sales tax ID, it is done through the Illinois Department of Revenue, or IDOR. It's required for businesses, as I said, in operation or close to opening. You would apply for this by completing what's called a Reg 1 form at the website that's listed there. Businesses are responsible for many forms of tax, including income, self-employment, I mentioned earlier, sales, excise, and others. Most commonly, sales tax and various payroll-related taxes are submitted. And please note, though, service-based businesses may not be required to charge or pay sales taxes. Basically, if you are not selling any products, and you're solely a service-based business, then you wouldn't need the Illinois sales tax ID. And generally speaking, accountants estimate you set aside 30 to 35% of revenue for taxes. Generally, taxes, I will also note this, generally taxes that you would pay to the Illinois Department of Revenue are done so quarterly, but the IDOR team will determine the frequency as they look into your specific business, and they'll let you know exactly how often you'll need to pay taxes. Any questions? I want to make sure I don't see any. Okay, we're doing well on time. Thank you all for your attention. Step 6 in setting up your business, it's time for licensing, permits, and registration. So, a Chicago business license is required to conduct, engage in, maintain, operate, or manage any business in the city of Chicago. And there are examples of those licenses at the link there on the Chicago Business Affairs and Consumer Protection Department's website. It's also known as BACP. They are based in City Hall on the 8th floor. Fees and filing requirements vary by industry. The office is open, but you can also apply for some licenses online. I will tell you though, for home-based businesses, you must go into the office to apply for a license. And most licenses and permits are required by your county, state, and federal steps. Oh, excuse me. Most licenses and permits require that your county, state, and federal steps of your business are completed first, which is why we've gone in the order that we have. There are some exemptions to the Chicago business license by the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, and some of those are included there, like banking and financial institutions, some professional services like architects and CPAs. The list of exceptions are on the BACP website via that link. Let's continue our conversation about licenses and specifically about home-based business. So there's a home-based business ordinance. You can, as I talked about, how you can register and get licensed for home-based businesses, that you have to go in the office, right, into Chicago BACP's office and City Hall for those. But there are some businesses that are excluded. You can take a look at the list, that the link there to the full list, and you can also contact BACP. But there are some exclusions, including the ones that I have noted here, which are food and beverage. That includes catering. You cannot sell food and beverages from your home. Even if you have a cottage license, there are some very specific requirements for what you sell with the cottage food license. And generally speaking, though, food and beverage should not be sold from your home. Uh, Also, beauty, barber, and cosmetology businesses are excluded from being home-based. Public places of amusement, so if you have an event space or a lounge or live music being played at in your home, that is not allowed. And you cannot manufacture beauty products from your home. Permissible businesses are allowed 300 square feet or 25% of the total floor area to be used for business in one's home. To store products on site in an unattached accessory building, that will need to be done for including in a garage or a shed, as long as it's completely enclosed. And then you are also able to have a product on display for retail purchase. I believe, give me a moment, I saw a question. So, yes, someone asked if, or in this case, your business will be mobile. Do you still have to apply for a permit? So, yes, because ultimately your business is still even if you go to multiple locations, you as the person, right? You're still, the business is still based somewhere. So if it whether it's in your home or it's in a co-working space or in a commercial location, you will need to apply for the Chicago business license. Thank you for that question. All right. So another additional notes related to the home-based business ordinance. So the guidelines outline that bulk delivery hours and quantities, store operating hours and restrictions are noted on the building signage. You have a set amount of people allowed in store, if you will, at a time and per day. Site inspection is not included in the application process for a home-based business. And yes, your home address becomes public record because that's the location of your business. So if that is a problem for you, be mindful. You'll need to look at some commercial spaces for your business to be based, including co-working spaces where they have offices that you may want to consider for your business and then you have to use your home address as your company address. And you can watch a full webinar about this on the BACP YouTube channel, which is linked there. Step 7, we're moving right along as you set up your business infrastructure. It has to do with business insurance. It's essential for protecting your business from unexpected loss or casualty. There are 4 essential types. They include general liability, business personal property, and workers' compensation. And remember that flood almost always has to be added separately. Your home insurance does not cover your home office, so understand that you will need separate coverage. And there's a great training with details about business insurance that we have listed there. And then step 8, you want to build a team of professionals. Even before your business grows, you need to have trusted professionals on your team. Those individuals include an accountant and or bookkeeper, an attorney, an insurance agent, and a bank and loan officer. And then certainly utilize advisors like those of us at the SBDC, at BACP, right? And other free sources or services rather. And if you are not already a client with us, you can sign up as a client on eCenter Direct for one-on-one assistance. As I said earlier, we assist you with things like your developing your business plan, and you can get advice on foundational accounting, legal, and financial questions. And we provide referral options to professional service providers. And as noted there, we could be reached at that email as well as the phone number and then the website that I noted earlier. It's also important that you stay informed about changes in business laws and regulations in general. We recommend subscribing to the BACP or that Chicago Business Affairs and Consumer Protection newsletter, and there's a link to that there. Then there's the Illinois Retirement Savings Program. That's something important to know. Did you know Illinois state law requires that non-governmental employers that have been in business for at least 2 years with 5 or more Illinois employees in every quarter of the previous year offer or contribute to their own qualified retirement plan? You can watch a training that's linked there for details. And then there's the Chicago minimum wage and fair work week compensation. It's important to know this as well. As of July 1st of this year, the Chicago minimum wage for employers with 4 or more employees is $16.60 per hour, while the tipped employee minimum wage is $12.62 per hour. For youth workers, subsidized temporary youth employment programs, and subsidized transitional employment programs. The minimum wage is $16.50 per hour. Also note that the Fair Work Week compensation ceilings also increased. Covered employees who earn equal to or less than $62,561.90, very exact, right? A salary of that amount or their hourly at $32.60 are covered by this ordinance. The Fair Work Week ordinance requires certain employers to provide workers with predictable work schedules and compensation for changes. And you can check out the training that's linked there for complete information. Are there any questions? I know I addressed some questions during the training, but now is your opportunity if you have questions before we go for the day. You can raise your hand if you're not in a space to type your questions in the Q&A section, and I can address those before we go. Any final questions? Okay, that's fair. I can understand is oftentimes participants in our trainings have you're processing the information. So appreciate your time and attention. You will, as I mentioned, receive you first let me note that you're going to receive an email requesting that you complete a survey about today's training. We like to provide training that is relevant for you so that you can continue to thrive or in business, right? Whether you're starting or maintaining your company. And also in that survey, there's space for you to recommend future training. So that those are things that we can consider as we plan other training. And you will receive a recording of this training as well as the slide deck and the other document I mentioned about starting your business in Illinois. That will be a part of that follow-up survey email as well. Again, that looks like all the questions and everything's been covered today. Thank you for your time and attention. Continued success for you and have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone.